Hey, what's good, barbecue family? It's your boy Joe Mill here, back with Killer Miller Q. And this year, we leveling up our Thanksgiving bird out there on the old Weber kettle with some harder charcoal and a foolproof way to guarantee that this bird is gonna be juicy and flavorful all the way down to the bowl. Come on, you got to see this. And cut the music. We get started right as you see it with a good old fashioned butterball turkey here. Nothing too crazy. It's one of the general ones you can get at your local grocery store with the purchase of groceries. Should be at a respectable price. It was about 99 cents a pound, only 12.4. This is one of two birds that'll get done, so I wanted to keep it kind of on the smaller side, but we're going to keep this easy. We got a simple prep. We're going to show you how to get your bird juicy as well as flavorful. I need to get this out the package. We're going to be spatchcocking this bird, so we'll be getting rid of the back end. There we go, and I spared you some of the nastiness, but just keep in mind some quick pointers with your bird. One, these things are going to be frozen solid when you get it, and it does take a little bit of time to unthaw it, so know that you're going to have to either put this in the refrigerator for a couple days before Thanksgiving or before you plan on cooking it, or you need to put it in a sink full of water for a while. You're going to have to make sure that it's unthawed one way or another. So other than that, rinsing this baby out, you're also going to have to remove your giblets, usually a bag of giblets in there, along with the turkey necks or anything else random. So I kind of cleaned this thing up a little bit, got it ready to rock. We're going to be flipping it over and be spatchcocking this thing, which basically just means that I'm just going to be turning it over to remove the spinal cord. And we're basically going to be cutting along the side of both to get this middle out, and then we'll be able to flip this thing back over and flatten it out. This is going to be a little bit harder to do in the turkey, but I believe we should be able to cut right through. And with a little work, that'll come right up out of there, leaving you with that. Now, a lot of people will make sure they save this to go ahead and create some stock or gravy. I personally won't be doing that on today's video, but keep that in mind. I'm sure you can easily find you another video on YouTube on what to do with this. But I'm going to be discarding that. I like to give this one more rinse, and then we'll be patting dry. Alright, all back clean. The next thing I want to do, like I was saying, is we want to get rid of all this moisture on this board as well as on this bird. I'm also going to be spatchcocking it and opening it up so it'll be laying nice and flat. But let's grab some paper towels and let's dry things up a little bit. Okay, so this is pretty decent. This will help that skin start to dry out, which obviously that salt is going to push it over the top. So next I need to go ahead and more or less squish it down and get that breastbone a lot more flat. The purpose of the spatchcock is being able to kind of help it cook a little bit more evenly overall. So basically one thing I like to do is I'm going to invert these legs so they can get nice and flat. And then in the end, when it's time to cook, we're going to actually tuck these behind. But right now, let me do some twisting. There we go. So I did decide to flatten it out a little bit, but I did change my mind. I'm not going to twist these babies around. I'm actually going to decide later on I might truss this together a little bit and cook it more or less with a traditional look, but definitely still want to flatten it down so we can open this thing up a little bit. I'm going to start on the meat side first. There we go. And then basically what I got here, you want to make sure you're using kosher salt for this. I use about a tablespoon for every 4 to 5 pounds. So this was a little over 12 pounds here. So I got about 3 tablespoons of kosher salt that we want to just cover this whole baby with. Make sure you get the backside of your wings, as well as we're going to make sure that we also get some deep and inside of this cavity. And then we'll flip it over, do the exact same thing on the other side. And this salt will slowly, pardon my reach, be absorbed as we set this in the refrigerator overnight. It should give us a good salt throughout. Should help that skin crisp up, as well as also have it nice and juicy. I'm already working on the other side. It's okay if some of it falls off. I got more than enough. I just want to make sure it gets covered. Give it a little touch so it make sure it stays. And like I said, I'm going to bring that rack over and we'll have it sitting up. So here is your finished product sitting on the rack. That way it's not going to sit down there and get all moist on the back end. Moisture be able to more or less travel in a full circle. And basically, like I said, you're going to notice there's going to be a drastic color change by tomorrow, as well as all of this salt will be absorbed into the skin. And this will be all the salt that we'll be adding to this recipe. So we have salted our bird. It's going in the refrigerator just like you see it uncovered. Next day, we are not 24 hours completely, but we're not too far away. But one way or another, as you can see, we have taken on a totally different color. Much more red is now starting to stick out. You can see that skin looks nice and tight. And either that's going to be great for us here in a second or not. We'll find out. But one way or another, we have salted our bird and it will be nice and juicy and flavorful down to the bone. So we pretty much got that phase already taken care of. Next, we're going to be making some compound butter. This is going to end up being the glaze that we end up putting over the top. Hopefully it should give us a beautiful brown taste. Or I mean a beautiful brown color, and it should give us a great overall taste. You should get these aromatics in here. Basically, we're going to have this bird with nothing but salt. You're going to have some beautiful herbs in here. And I like that we have this poultry blend around this time of year. Pretty much gives me everything I need in one whop. You know, I see rosemary in there, thyme. You got some sage. A little bit of everything in there to make it nice and earthy and flavorful. And then I'm also, I would have probably used garlic paste, but I didn't have any at my local grocery store. So I actually went with this minced garlic. And one thing I like about this versus using an actual garlic clove is I want some of that juice, a little bit more of that moisture. And then I got me 2 sticks here of some unsalted butter that I'm going to be using. Like I said, since we've already salted this bird, I don't want to add any additional salt to it that I don't have to. And then lastly, just for a little bit of flavor kick, I'm using one of my favorites here, Sweet Smoky Joe's Creole Kick. This here is a low sodium rub. It's got a lot of flavor to it, but it's just going to give me a little something extra to add on to this butter. So basically all of that is going to be end up eventually going in here to hang out. And then we're going to try to get up under the skin, hit this bird here in the breast area, as well as these legs, and then baste it all over and let it kind of hang out before we get it out there to the pit here in a couple hours. So first things first, let me get these leaves up off these stems, and then let's go ahead and chop it up. Now to package, I'm literally just looking to get rid of the stem itself on all of these. I just want the leaves and the aromatics, and then I'm gonna chop this up nice and fine. There we go. And this actually took longer to get off the stem than I thought it would, but with that said, you can use whatever aromatics, whatever type of herbs you want to add in there for a little flavor to kick this thing up a little bit. Now I want to chop this up, marry all these dry ingredients together before we get it over there into the bowl. About like that. And obviously you can chop this up to whatever fineness you want or use your food processor. From here, I'm just going to grab my bowl and I'm going to throw in my 2 sticks of unsalted butter. There we go. And then keep in mind, this is already pretty much close to room temperature. From there, I'm just going to throw in everything else. Let's get some green in there. Okay. And then I'm going to add in some of my Sweet Smoky Joe's Creole Kick. Decent amount. Next, my minced garlic. There we go. And I went ahead and added in, obviously you go to your own taste buds. It was like 3 heaping tablespoons along with a little bit of that juice because I want some of that moisture. And obviously you can go to whatever you like, but definitely at the end of the day, you can think that we're going to have salt on this bird. We're going to have some garlic on this bird, a lot of herbs on this bird, along with a little bit of that Creole Kick. We're going to have us some good flavor. Just like you see it, we're going to use this fork and we're going to get the mashing. You should end up with something pretty much like that. This is where that garlic paste would have been even better because as you can see, you can still see those granules of garlic, and over time, a lot of times on that grill, that'll end up being what'll start burning in those little bits versus that paste is going to be like a moisture, and it's really just going to end up being a flavor that's going to lather. However, still think we're going to be just fine just like this. This is already mixed up. I'm going to let it hang out in the refrigerator just to kind of marry together for a minute before we get to stuffing this bird. And after giving it a while to come together in the refrigerator, and now it's back and warmed up and loose, it's ready to go. Got the bird out. Now, we'll see how much fight it gives me, but normally it's pretty easy to pull this back. Your skin's a little tighter after already doing that dry brine, but normally you can get up under here really easy, whether you're using a spoon or whether you're using your hands on both sides to be able to get some butter in there, a nice lump. And then from there, you can kind of massage it all over the rest of this breast as well as underneath. Or since I did spatchcock it, I'm sure I can go on the back end to be able to get some more or less on these leg quarters down here as well. So my plan is I want to get as much as I can under the skin, and I'll put as much as I can on the back. First and foremost, let's put a little bit of this to the side. Okay, and then we'll leave this one over here. That way I'll be able to use that later on for the basting. And then we'll worry about trying to get some of this in this bird. Let's try the top part first. Oh yeah, we're just going to keep on working our way in here. Hey team, I want to jump in here real quick and let you know thanks for following along on today's video. Go to that bottom right corner, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done it already. Like this video, leave a comment, and if you haven't also done it, find me on Facebook, IG, and TikTok. Other than that, let's get back to this bird. And trying to work that top was a no-go. It was so tight in there, but I'm definitely feeling some love over here. So whether you're using that spoon or like you see I'm doing right now with my hands, I'm just working myself a nice pocket until I can open up pretty much this whole breast. And with a little time and patience, that spoon actually ended up really working well. Just basically being able to kind of work under there, and you can see I got myself a nice looking pocket to start sliding some of this magic in. So that's what we're going to do. We got us a sleeve on both sides. We'll take care of the breast to start. And as you can see, I got some decent amount under here, and I purposely left it just like this. And I probably won't do the best job with one hand, but before it's said and done, I will, which is just kind of molding it in here so that you actually cover your whole breast. As you can kind of see what's happening right here. Fill out your whole pocket. Obviously this is going to melt and it'll further saturate everything. But like right here, I'm going to just kind of push it further up in this pocket. And I'm going to move it all around. And then we can end up a little more like that. Like I said, I really wanted to work, I can get even higher on this pocket, which I might mess around with. But at least I want to get majority of that in here. And then let's go ahead and flip it over and we can tend to these quarters. Alrighty, so that's pretty respectful. And we did actually start, before I went ahead and turned it around, I started opening up this pocket, got a little bit of that so it can start bleeding out of there, dripping right onto this leg. Let's flip it over. And now that we got this thing turned over, it'll be pretty easy to lift this skin up, get in here in this backside pocket a little bit now that it's already cut open with the spatchcock, and fill in just a little bit more, as well as I'm also going to make sure I get some butter inside of here in the cavity. And here is the aftermath. Got the inside of this cavity taken care of. I was able to get in here on some of these on the back end. You take what you can get. I know I was starting to tear a little bit on this one, so I left it alone. Not too worried. We got some good flavor all around. I'm going to let this go ahead and hang back out. And I think I'm actually going to cook this on the rack. So I'm going to flip this back over. It's going to sit just like you see it for the most part, other than, let's flip it around. Okay, and then for the most part, I try to keep those bits off the top. I'm just going to rub this thing all over. Make sure I'm rubbing it in the direction that I want this butter more or less to go, so I'm not just pushing it out. And just kind of set it up where I want it to look later on. We're going to take these wings and we're going to go ahead and bend that back, tuck it back just like that, like you sunbathe, huh? Do the same thing on the other side. It's a little bit better presentation. They won't get all burnt up and bent. and it cooks those wings nice and evenly. I'm gonna let it sit up just like this while we get the pit up to temp, and then we're gonna save that to lather on towards the back end of the cook. Outside, we got this grill pretty much prepped up and ready to rock, cleaned up a little bit. And as you can see, I'm setting it up for an indirect run today. I don't always do this, but today we wanted to make sure we kept a little extra moisture in here, being that this is going to be for your Thanksgiving bird. Also, it's going to make my cleanup a little bit easier. I got a pan butt right on the offside with a little bit of water in there. We rolling with that good old harder charcoal. I started off with my briquettes. I had a little bit that was left over, as well as I added a couple new ones in. And then now that this thing is going, I'm gonna let this come up to temp for my grill, but then I'm gonna be adding in a couple of the lump charcoal or the harder charcoal. It's got some good size. They got some smaller ones in there, which I like if I'm trying to like start my fire. But then they also got some bigger ones in there as well. Give me some nice chunks, give me some good flavor. We definitely gonna get some of that going. That's what I used on the beef ribs last week. We'll throw a couple extra lumps on there and we let it hang out and get this bird on. Okay, we out at the pit. We got some additional pieces of the lump charcoal over here to give me a good smoke. We got that beautiful looking bird sitting over here. You can see all that good butter laid up on it. I did decide to go ahead and lightly truss it. I only wanted to bring the legs together just to kind of help it keep its shape. Like I said, we got the arms back like it's sun tanning. Last step before I let this thing chill out, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of this avocado spray. I grabbed this at Costco. This one I actually like mainly because there's nothing included other than just avocado oil. So I'm just gonna give it a light little cover and give it a little rub around, and we should have us a nice brown bird by the end. Easy to apply. That's another reason why I like that little spray. All right, we set and we ready to go. Other than that, last thing I throw in there, a little pro tip. You see I got it still on that rack. It's gonna make it super easy with moving it around. It shouldn't have to move from the way that we set it. I'll bring you back here in about an hour. We'll check in, see what it's looking like, maybe give it a rotation. All right, we only about 55 minutes in. We're gonna take a quick peek just to make sure everything running well, smooth and easy at 350. Notice I put that the grates or the baffles, the openings, whatever, the intake where I can get my air from, that is now across on the other side. So I got fire on this side, meat in the middle, and the air is coming this way. So basically we are pulling that smoke right across the old turkey. Let's take a peek, make sure I don't rattle too much in here. Okay, it's early in the process. We're gonna keep it rolling. Hour and 50 minutes in. We still holding strong. 350, it just smell good over here. Oh yeah, we starting to cook. I can see a little bit more browning happening on this side, right? Compared to this side. So needless to say, at an hour and 50, and I'm expecting this to probably take around 3 hours or so. We're gonna get this baby a 180 turn, put the feet up top, and we're gonna let the other side start getting a little love. And every time I come in here, I'm gonna add a little bit more of some of that harder lump charcoal into here. Smelling good out here. Let me make some adjustments and I'll let you see it before we go. There we go. Spent it around. Fresh dust into that avocado oil. Added a couple more lumps of that charcoal. Let's close it back up. Rolling along just about 2.5 hours. When I tell you this thing has been dialed in, this baby basically been cooked in an oven. Completely smooth. This harder charcoal, that's one thing I like about it. Super smooth. It also gives off a great smell. Like it says right there, longest, cleanest burn. A little more expensive than your average, but I tell you what, it is good quality, and I've enjoyed it the few times I've got to cook on it. Appreciate the good people, them sending that by so I can check it out and bring it to you so you can see kind of how it's working out. But real smooth cook, not having to use a lot of wood. I'm liking that a lot. This baby is starting to get nice and bathed. You can notice the drawback on those legs. I'm not going to temp it or nothing right now because I know I'm not where I want to be. You can see that brownness starting to happen right over there. Obviously, we still nice and bland looking up in here. which is where we weren't able to get some of that garlic and butter and everything in there. And I'll end up kind of rotating that towards the front in time. But you know, the breast, we want to make sure it stays more on the moist side. So there you go. We're going to go ahead and let this thing hang out. I'll add a couple more pieces of the lump and we'll keep on rolling. So we right back it's about 3 hours in. I'm liking that it kicked up a little bit. We at just about 400. I'm thinking this baby is actually getting close to being done. I'm about to actually take some temperature. The other thing that I want to do is I got the rest of that compound butter that we made in here. And obviously, you know, your compound butter, you add whatever you want as far as herbs or whatever have you. But we about to be starting to baste the top of that. So if you kind of think back, we didn't put nothing on the top. I try to keep it basic. All we did was hit it with some of that avocado oil under the skin. We came with as much of that compound butter as we could. And the day before, we came with the overall dry salt brine on here. So we got the bird salted, we got some flavor in there. Now I'm about to actually finish crisping up this skin, which looks nice and tight already. We're gonna let that kind of warm up, and I'm gonna start basting that all over this bird, and we're gonna finish this thing out. Okay, so I brought you back so you can kind of check out how this thing is checking out. I'd like to look at the side that is, and obviously my hands is nice and dark from the charcoal, so I won't be touching this bird with this hand, but I like to look at the side that is away from the fire, because obviously you know this side is going to be warmer because it's close to the heat, right? Checking out this leg, it's at 176, which isn't too bad. I like, usually if I was doing them like as a leg quarter, I would do it a little higher, but doing it as a whole, that's pretty decent. My breasts are actually under though. They were only at about 155, so they still need about another 10 degrees, which I can tell just by the general lightness of this overall compared to how my legs look down there. So keeping that in mind, I know on this side I'm probably warmer on both, so that works out absolutely perfect. I'm letting this warm up for a quick second. I'm gonna probably slide this directly over the flame just for a second to go ahead and get this based in. I haven't covered it or nothing yet, and I'm gonna rotate this where I'm gonna let the breast be the closest to the fire, put these legs towards the back after it's got a nice little bit of that good compound butter all over. I'll let you check it out then, but I gotta go wash my hands real quick. Now that we got things spent around, got my hands washed off a little bit, let's go ahead. And I can already tell you, you can hear this skin is nice and crispy. You hear that? Yeah, that is that dry salt brine. And now we just about to basically hit it with a rush of flavor. Hopefully our bit of garlic that we get on here shouldn't darken up too much. I feel like I got good control of this fire right now. Give it a good douse to start. This should also help it with its browning, because butter burns, right? Butter crisps up fast, so that should help with if your skin wasn't all the way crisp, and just overall getting a little bit more of this brown color. Here we go. I'm gonna leave it just like that for now. A little bit in there, pardon my reach. Check out your bird. Let's let it get another 20 to 30 minutes and I'll come back and check you out. 15 minutes in, look at that. We still dialed in. Well, 15 minutes later is what I meant to say. I'm just coming back in here just to reapply another application of a little bit of that butter and that garlic, pardon my reach, yet again. We burning smooth out here. Temperature is holding steady. This will put us at, I believe, around 3 hours, 15 minutes roughly, I believe. I have to go back and check. I'll let you know next go round. But you can see, color-wise, we is really coming together. It's filling in a little bit. Listen to that. Skin is sounding good. And we just applying a little extra flavor and some sheen. Don't forget them legs. And then what I'll probably end up doing is, I see I still got some good aromatics left in there, some of my herbs, and a little bit of that garlic. I'll just add a little bit of butter to that, just so I got plenty as I'm finishing this baby out. I'm not gonna worry about no temp. We're gonna let it keep on going till I can brown this top a little bit more. Final destination. We should be about good. This has been 4 hours. Just now finishing up. It looks pretty solid. It was down to about 300 at the last little bit. Let me check out this breast, which is pretty much what I was waiting on. Breast still needs some more. We still about another 10 degrees out. Alright, let me add a little bit more love to the fire. I'm gonna baste this baby. We're gonna let it rock right where you see it. Check the other side just to kind of see. A little warmer back there. That one closer to where I need to be. So just this one here. I can hear that skin. It almost sounds like I'm popping into a brat. Okay. So not too much longer. Let's get another, smelling great, basting of with this butter, adding a little bit more heat, pump this thing back up to closer to that 350 mark, and we'll finish this bird out, give it another 15 minutes or so. Alright, this should be finishing it up. Gave it a little rotation. Let's get it up off of here. Okay, we've been sitting in here long enough. This thing is looking nice and brown. Got my kitchen smelling good. I'm ready to dig in. I'm about to give you a quick master class in chopping down this bird. Now, clearly, if you go ahead and do these normal cuts right here, I mean, you literally gonna take all of the skin off, most of your flavor off in one piece for the first person, and everybody else just get that white turkey with nothing else. The best way to do it is to actually, if you can and you're not too afraid, cut this directly off of the bone as a whole breast, and then you can slice that the long way, and then everybody get a little bit of that skin. It actually cuts a lot better overall, and you're gonna get much more of the meat. One of the first things I like to do, and this thing still feels a little bit warm, so I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, but one of the first things I like to do is go ahead and get that cut done right here. You see this skin's already nice and tight. It's been pulling the whole way. Cut these leg quarters off. They're going to come off real easy. From there, I'm pretty much looking at the breast right in front of me, and then I can go ahead and attack these wings. So I'm going to let this chill for a second. I'll come back after I get these first cuts done. And I've let it sit longer than I wanted. As soon as I got to cutting, I just had to show you how we looking super juicy, needless to say. And those come right on off. Slide them to the side. Now you're pretty much looking at your breasts with the wings. I like to come and get those wings. I'm gonna flip this baby over. It's nice and solid. Once you start to pull this wing back, it's going to expose the area right there that we're going to be cutting to get it right off of here nice and easy. Right on in through there. And you'll end up seeing that whole little knuckle joint. Now take your wing off nice and easy. We'll roll it around. We'll do the same thing on this side. There go two. On my legs. And then now we down to the breast. Okay. Beautiful standard turkey. I just tasted a little piece of back meat. That's all right. So now you got your breastbone right there in the middle, nice and hard. You're gonna go right to the side of that thing, and you should be able to kind of cut you out a little concave on each side. Doop, doop. And that's gonna be the breast that we're gonna get out. See if we can get this out clean. And to bring you back, I'll literally start with a line, like I said, straight on the inside. And from there, you can start pulling it apart. And then, like I said, get all the way down to the bottom of that rib. We're gonna cut that right on out. There you have it. Nice and easy. One down. Pretty close and pretty clean. Do the same thing on the other side. Nice straight line. Start to separate it, get you some spice. And then nice and close, we're going to go ahead and go straight down. And then kind of carve it right on out and get this other breast off. And it should look just like that. So clearly this is all taken care of. Got me a nice juicy board. This is a beautiful bird. Very subtle in flavor, but nice and easy. Salt is just perfect. Got them herbs in there and that butter. Nice and tender. Now you could have obviously took that back and that whole rest of that carcass and boiled it down. Got every bit of meat off of there. Made stock, whatever have you. I got what I was going to get, and I'm just enjoying my little taste over here off of this board. Get a little flavor on it. Juicy turkey. Juicy breast. Beautiful color. I can't be mad. All right, now this is why I like to present it this way. Like I said, my skin's nice and crispy, so you see it actually stayed on all my pieces. But you can give everybody a piece of turkey with some skin on there, with some flavor. You know, those are the ones that's really got some power in it. Nice and golden brown. This turkey came out right. So whether people looking for their dark meat, which obviously you can break your wings apart, or they want the white meat, you can give it to them nice and clean. It's also already ready. A lot easier to get into those to-go boxes, or just to break it down at the end of the night to be able to kind of get everything together. One of the number one things I used to hate when I was younger was not knowing how to carve the turkey, wanting to go back for leftovers, but didn't have anything already cut and already set up. From here, you can pretty much get there pretty easily. Obviously, you can just go ahead and separate your wings. I usually also cut that leg and the thigh apart from that leg quarter, and then just kind of had those already broke apart. But easy money. Come on now. And that's a wrap. That bird came out perfect, golden brown, crispy skin, nice and juicy, flavorful all the way throughout. You can use any type of herbs that you want to kind of make that thing your own. But that's a nice, easy way to get your bird to the table. Guaranteed everybody gonna be happy. Shouts out to the family. My boys over at Black Smoke Barbecue. You out there in TV land and Harder Charcoal for coming through with that beautiful blend. I'll catch y'all in a week. Happy Thanksgiving.